Hello fellow Blenderers, this is Peter here with PM Designs. In this video we're going to be breaking some stuff. First we're going to break some glass because that's easy. Then we're going to break some wood because that's it's slightly more involved. And then we're going to dent some metal because that's like just the next step, I guess. And then we're going to do a combination where we're just going to destroy a car. So let's get straight on with it here. Let's make a window. Yeah, so I'm going to add a mesh, a plane, rotate that on the X by 90, and just apply those transforms. We have to apply transforms in this because we're going to be doing rigid bodies. I'm going to bring up a timeline for now, because, well, not for now. Bring up a timeline. And I'm going to set it to like 75 frames or something. Just name my stuff because it's always good. And so for this, I'm just going to have a ball break a window. Okay, so I'm going to add a UV sphere, scale it down a bit, apply those transforms, bring it back here, keyframe it in location, and then go to the end and keyframe it over here, location, rotation, and scale. So hopefully, yeah, and just make sure that's set to linear. So we're going to be doing this with the cell fracture add-on. Sorry, I'm just naming my ball. So if you haven't got that, go to your preferences, type cell, enable this one, object, cell fracture. All right. I'm going to hide my ball for a moment. What cell fracture does is basically just breaks your object up into pieces, like that, okay? Based on how many vertices it has. So we can't do it that way. So let's tell it where to break the window. So first I wanted to solidify my window. Probably something like that will do. And apply that modifier. I need to draw a crack on this window, a cracked window, not any other kind of crack. So I've got a reference here, which I recommend you do. And I'm just going to line this up roughly with where my ball will be making contact, which is, yeah, about there. And just move it back a bit. Hide my ball. Okay, so now we're going to use the annotation pencil, which is here. Set the placement to surface, and now you can draw on the surface of your object. And I'm just going to try and copy this or trace this this cracked window shape very roughly. Don't get the lines too close together, like each parallel line, but we do want them to intersect in the center. So that's why I'm not ignoring this hole. I'm ignoring this hole and going straight across it because it's important. I'm just going to try and copy some of these lines very roughly. If you're using a mouse like I am at the moment, you can use stabilized stroke, and which will help you to get nice straight strokes, but I'm just doing this very quickly because I'm lazy. All right, something like that, that's okay. No, it's not really. Okay, let's just get another couple in here. Right, we also need to make sure there are some circles, and their placement is quite important to where the ball is. So just remembering, I'm going to draw around the edge of my ball, or whatever you're doing. You know, maybe you're doing a bullet breaking glass, or a human jumping through a window or something like that. So I need to make sure that I've got a line going around the outside of my object, which is breaking the glass. And then I just want a couple more circles inside, preferably not perfectly neat circles like I'm doing. Something like that, that should do. Okay, I can hide my reference. Select the object, come up here to object at the top, and go down to quick effect and cell fracture. Okay, so by default, this is how it comes up. Own particles, we want to change that to annotation pencil. Okay, source limit is the maximum number of pieces that you're going to get. So I won't get any more than 100 if I do this. The scale is like the X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to mess with that. Recursion means if one piece will continue to break up into more pieces. So if I set that at 1, every piece will break once more. So I don't really want to do that. And up to a maximum of 8, or whatever you want to set it to. We do want to disable this, sharp edges. Another thing, I want my window pieces to go into a collection. I don't need to make the collection first up here. I just create it here. Scene collection, window, shards or pieces, if you can spell pieces. There we go. Go. Okay, something like that. Not too bad. I'm going to rename my original window to window intact, and I'm going to hide it because I need it later. Let's just disable my annotations. So it's not too bad, but if you want to get in there and do some more kind of like creative control on it, you just select one. Let's say I want this piece broken up more. Go back into cell fracture, quick effect cell fracture, select own particles, and then bring the source limit down a bit to something like 5 or 3, whatever, and then you can go ahead and break that one again. Okay, so now I've got that broken up a bit more. If your window's made well, the exterior pieces should not be shattering unless you want them to, but I don't want them to. So I'm going to select all of these edge pieces and move them into a new collection called window pieces. Let's call them passive, because that's what they're going to be. They're going to be passive. All right, I'm just going to hide those for a moment. And now I've got my pieces which are going to shatter, hopefully fairly in line. Yeah, not too bad. Maybe some of these pieces shouldn't shatter, but that's down to how I did my spider web. And also what I could do is select these, join them into one object, and then just merge the vertices together. But I'm not going to do that now. We've got our ball. Now let's just make these pieces shatter. So the first thing we need to do is make our ball into a rigid body, passive, add passive. Okay, and come down to rigid body settings and select animated. Okay, that's important. I can hide my ball for now. Select all of these pieces and then shift select one of them. Object, rigid body, add active. Okay, so now they should all fall down. All right, so to stop them from falling down, I'm going to bring back my window pieces passive and select all of those and make those into passive pieces as well. Rigid body passive. So now the pieces won't fall down quite so much, but eventually they do, which is not great. So we're going to go to scene properties and disable gravity. Yeah, and then they will only break when the ball makes contact. But they're going to fly around in the air. So, easy fix. When the ball makes contact, where's my ball? Let's say about here. I'm going to keyframe that I've disabled gravity by putting my mouse over this box and just press I. Go to the next frame, enable gravity, and press I. Okay, so now gravity is enabled after that point. So when I press play, let's give us a few more frames. Yeah, we get that kind of effect. My ball is moving way too slowly, but yeah, doesn't matter too much. All right, another thing we can do with this, going back to our window pieces, the center pieces which are going to break, select all of them with shift select like that, and go down to, where's it gone? Rigid body, and calculate mass. This is why we had to solidify before we move forward, because if they're 2D, they'll have no mass. So calculate your mass, and I'm going to choose glass. I don't understand why glass solid has a different mass to glass broken, because broken pieces should have the same mass, shouldn't they? Please, if somebody understands science, please explain to me why a broken piece of glass have different mass to a solid piece of glass. I'm going to choose solid. So now let's have a look, because this is a 2 meter by 2 meter window. I guess these glass pieces are going to be pretty heavy. Okay, so that's almost 1 kilogram piece of glass. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But anyway, so now we get a slightly different break. All right, so all I have to do now is just speed up my ball a bit because it's far too slow. Where's my ball? That's my ball. Oh, whoops. Okay. Put that on 20. Let's see how that goes. There we go. All right. But now I just need to adjust my gravity. When does the ball make contact? About that point. So I need to bring my gravity keyframe, which is this one, back to here. Right. There we go. And the ball suddenly stops in a very strange way. But yeah, anyway, bang. Okay, so that's how we break a window, but it doesn't look great because let's add a quick material to these guys. A very, very quick material. Okay, you can see the cracks, which is not good. Because there is going to be a slight gap in there, and because it's glass, there's going to be refraction and stuff which occurs. So that's why we kept our intact window. Yeah. So if I bring this guy back, where's he gone? This one. And give him the same one, give him the same material, and then hide these pieces. So we've got our intact window. Yeah, and then what we want to do is at this point, we want it to switch to the broken pieces. Yeah. So I don't know if you know this, maybe you don't. So here you go. That's why we have tutorials. You can keyframe when something begins to render or when something is disabled from render. So I want my window intact to stop rendering at this point. Yeah. And then everything else should start rendering at this point. So first we're going to, but I'm not going to do it in render because I want to show you. So anything, I'm going to do this on the disabling viewports, but you should do it on the render, on this camera. Unfortunately, there's a really annoying thing here, is that you can't just do it on a collection. You have to do it one by one, which I don't know why. I don't understand why. But what I can do is, so I'm going to disable this, this broken window piece from viewport. So I have to do this on all of these pieces, which, it's just a drag down kind of job. Yeah. Drag these down to however many I had. Dragging my mouse over, clicking and dragging, yeah, because it does them all at once. And you're going to need to do this on your render icon. And then I have to go through and do I on all of them. I. Keyframe. Adding a keyframe on all of those. Unfortunately, yeah, I don't, if anybody knows, please drop it in the comments. Is there a better way to do this? I'm not sure if linking the animation data works, which is why I'm doing it this way, because I don't want to waste time, basically, by trying it that way, and then it doesn't work, and then I have to go back and do it again. So, right, done that. So now what's important is that I enable auto keying. Yeah. So now I go forward one frame, and then I'm going to just click on these and drag my mouse up. Yeah, because I've already set one keyframe for them by manually pressing I. As I just click on it, it's going to auto keyframe those as well. Yeah. Okay, I might have got that in slightly the wrong place, but yeah, you get the idea. Yeah, so you would do that on your render. Let's see what happens. Okay, not too bad. And so then all we have to do is do the same thing for the other pieces. So where was our, this one, isn't it? Yeah. Do the same thing for these pieces. The sort of exterior pieces of the window. Okay, and then just go forward one frame and keyframe those. Enable those, and then it's being keyframed, and we need to do it for the window intact but in reverse. So I'm going to disable this one and keyframe it, go back one frame, enable it, and so it's keyframed. So then it just, bang, it's just going to disappear between those two. I think I might have got those in slightly the wrong place. Let's move it back one frame. So I'm going to grab all of those window cells. Don't need that one, don't need the gravity one. Well, actually no, if I bring back the gravity one, lock that, and then I can just do this. I can grab all of these GX-1, and then minimize that, grab this one, go back a little bit, GX-1. Whoa, whoopsie. GX, why is it doing that? Oh. That's not too bad. There we go. Okay, so there we go. That's a bit better. Yeah, so those pieces fly off. There's a little bit of intersection there where the window, this window needs to go back a little bit. Oh, sorry. Yeah, backwards. Needs to disappear one frame earlier. Yeah, about there. Bang. And unless somebody's going to watch your video in slow motion, they're not going to see that. Yeah, but that is not too bad. And there we go. Yeah. If you want to have a bit more artistic control over this, is like just the last little tip about this glass one. If you want the pieces around the edge to fly away as well, all you have to do is instead of using your actual object as the rigid body, let's duplicate it and scale it up slightly. And then my original baseball is not going to be a rigid body. It's just there as what we will see. So I can disable that. And then this new baseball, I'm going to call it like ball proxy. I can just set that to be visible as a wireframe and not appear in renders. All right. So then I've already baked my rigid body, so I have to go back and delete that bake and bake it again. So now that proxy is breaking the window, not the actual ball. If I'm let's make it much larger just to make that clear. Something like that. Scale. Delete bake. Bake again. You can see now that it's having a larger area of effect. It's smashing more of the pieces through. So if you wanted to have a more dynamic effect, use a proxy instead of using your actual object. And this is I've disabled it from renders, so it will do the damage, but it won't actually appear in the render. So that's it for glass, breaking glass. If you want to stick around, we're going to go on. We're going to like karate chop some wood or something like that. So let's get on with that. So doing wood is pretty easy, but like I usually do, we'll start off very simple and then add more detail if you want to make something more realistic. So let's just get straight into it here. I'm going to make a plank of wood. Apply the scale, and I'm going to add a solidify modifier to that just to make it look more planky. Make it a little bit thicker, something like that I'll do. Right, so I've named it plank, and all we have to do is go and tab into edit mode. And so I want to add a whole load of loop cuts, like across, or like running the length of the plank. As the more loop cuts I add, the more splintered my wood will look. So something like that. You can experiment and you can see how many loop cuts you need. So a load of loop cuts running across, and then just one across the middle going vertically from this angle, and just right click to drop that where it is. Sorry, if you don't know how to do loop cuts, I'm just doing Control and R and then left click, and then I can move it, or I can just right click to drop it where it is. So now while these are selected, I'm going to hold Shift and press H. That hides everything else. And then I'm going to deselect those and come up here to the select menu and select random, something like that. I can adjust the ratio so I can get fewer vertices selected or more. And I can also mess with the seed until I get something I like. I don't want too many which are like touching. Something like that will do. Okay. Turn on proportional editing and set it to random. And I'm just going to press G and X. Drag those to the right. Something like that. And then again, I'm going to deselect. Go to select random, and I can mess with the seed again. That'll do. G and X, drag those to the left, and I can adjust my area of influence so I get something that I like. This is going to be where our wood splinters. This is the break in the wood. Something like that I'll do. Okay, Alt and H, yeah, so you can see what's going to happen here. I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to select this whole edge, this whole loop running across here, press V and then right click. V means rip, so I've now separated these into two pieces like that, but I'm keeping it as one object for a reason which we'll talk about in a little while. Okay, so let me just turn on my you can see now we've got two separate pieces of wood. So all I have to do now is rig this, and I've basically got a simple broken piece of wood. So I'm just going to pop my 3D cursor here and add a bone, armature, single bone. Whoops. Tab into edit mode and just rotate that by 90. Whoa. 3D cursor, rotate by 90 degrees. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's intersecting, but I can always just scale it back that way slightly. Okay, I'm going to set my 3D cursor back to the center, and then Shift and D, and then R180, like that. So that's just duplicated it across exactly to the other side. I'm going to set the roll on both of these to be 0, and I'm just going to bring them down ever so slightly so that they're more like in the center of the geometry. It doesn't matter too much, but it's where your wood is going to pivot. So you need to bear that in mind. Yeah, I'm going to call this one wood.l, and this one's going to be wood.r. You can, if you make the bones on one side of an object and you give them all a .l, you can always symmetrize, and it would just duplicate them to the other side and give them all a .r name. But just in case you couldn't do that, that's why I've done it this way, of just duplicating across the 3D cursor. So now I'm going to select my plank and then shift select the bones, Control P, and parent with empty groups. Yeah. Select my plank, tab into edit mode, and with face select enabled, I'm going to press L while hovering over one side and come here and just assign this all to wood.l, and I could do Control I and assign those all to wood.r. So now I have, if I do this by individual origins, I can break my wood. And if I turn on symmetrize, hopefully, yeah, we can break the wood quite nicely there. That is it at a very simple level. Yeah, we just go ka-cha and it's broken. But let's, I'm going to just keyframe this so we can look at it in a little bit more detail. Okay, so I've just got my 10 frames there, set to linear, and that's my breaking animation there. So now if I pop back into object mode, disable my armature from viewport, if we come a little bit closer, this doesn't look very good. Yeah, maybe if you're doing a stylized look, you can leave it at that. That's done. But we want some more splintering in the center of the wood. So to get that, I'm going to duplicate this one and move it to an archive, because maybe I want it later. Hide that for now. So on this one, I need to apply my solidify modifier to make a solid plank. Yeah, but it's still gonna break. Yeah, it still breaks like that, so that's fine. So now tab into edit mode, and I need to add loop cuts going across this way now. So Control and R, as many as you want. Yeah, just roll your mouse up until you get a number you're happy with. Why won't it let me do it over here? Whoops. Something like that. It doesn't need to be perfectly symmetrical because it's going to be splintered wood. It doesn't matter too much. And now what I want to do is do the same kind of trick with the random proportional editing, but only on the center. I'll show you why we do it only on the center. If I just pop into the top view here, Alt and Z for X-ray mode, vert select, and select all of these, yeah, hide the rest, and then do the same thing I did earlier. I'm only going to do this once because I don't want to have to undo many times. Yeah, so now the wood is broken on top. Yeah, which is fine because we're going to fix that in a minute anyway. But if I do it now, it won't work. I'm not going to do it now because I don't know if I've got enough undos left. So I'm going to undo all of that. Okay, so I only want these center most verts. So with X-ray mode enabled, box select these. So I've got that whole thing there. Shift and H to hide the rest. And then if I come into one of the orthographic views, I can box select just the center pieces. So or I can select the top here, select this edge, select this edge, select the bottom layer, select the bottom layer, and press H to hide those. So now I've only got those innermost pieces. To make things easier, I'm just going to assign that to a vertex group for now. Okay, so if I unhide everything, when I select that vertex group, I can't see it from X-ray mode. But I can't see it if I'm not in X-ray mode, which is what I want. Okay, so now I can Shift and H, hide everything else, and do the same thing I did earlier. Select random, and with proportional editing turned on, just slide some that way. Select random, adjust the seed, GX the other way. Yeah, and so now I should have a bit more distortion in there. A bit more splintering, sorry. Yeah, looks a little bit better. Okay, and the more loop cuts in there, the more verts you add, the better that's going to look. Okay, the more splintered it will appear to be. So next thing let's fix. If we look at it from like the second frame in, these pieces are going to intersect, which is not great. If you're not doing it in slow motion, that's fine. But if you are doing it and people can see it, we want to make a little fix to that. So tab back into edit mode, unhide everything, select the vertex group, which we made, and hide them. I don't want those. And then I'm going to select one of these edges, Alt and select, okay? And I want to make sure I get all the way around. Doesn't matter too much about the side, which is not seen actually, but so let's just link this one. Let's just press L to select all of that, hide that one, yeah? And then select all of these surrounding edges. Okay, and I'm going to slide them back a tiny little bit. Double tap G, just a little bit, something like that. Okay, unhide the rest, and now we've got a very visible gap, but that's no problem because now we need to fix that. So we're going to add the weld modifier, which is down here. And so basically weld modifier is merge by distance, but in a non-destructive way. So if you've ever done merge your verts by distance, that's what this is going to do. So just bring that up until that disappears. Okay, if I bring it up too much, you'll see that it's also merging everything by the distance. So I'm just going to get it where it just touches. So now if I play my animation, it's smooth, and then it breaks apart quite nicely. Yeah. One thing you could do to sort of upgrade the detail here is add a particle system shooting out little splinters if you wanted to. I'm not going to do that now, but I'm sure you can figure out how to do a particle system. One thing I am going to do is add some extra splinters which kind of break up but don't break away. So if I bring back my other plank, which is this one, so this one's still got the solidify modifier, so it takes up almost the same space. It takes up the same space as the now more detailed plank. I want to make it actually sit on top of my other plank. Yeah. So I could make it just minus 0.002 or something like that. So it's just a very thin layer. If you've ever broken wood, you'll see that sometimes the exterior parts splinter up, but they don't quite break away. So on this guy, let's put the armature above the solidify. Yeah, this one breaks still. Yeah, still follows the same thing. But on this one, I'm going to add some shape keys, or a shape key. So I need to add extra loop cuts on whichever side I'm going to add splinters. So you might want to add it on both sides, like this, but I'm just going to do one for an example. Yeah, add a shape key. We need to add the basis and then a new one. I'm just going to call it splinter and set that on 1 for now. Tab into edit mode and find whichever piece you want to have as a splinter. So I'm going to say this one. I'm going to put my 3D cursor here. Okay, grab this edge. I need to grab this vert. Let's do linked on this one. Just hide this for a moment and hide the other plank. Grab this vert, and press V again, and then right click. So that's ripped that away. Turn this off. That has now ripped that piece away. And the reason I put my 3D cursor there is because I can just find wherever that guy's gone. There we go. And if I rotate by 3D cursor, it means my splinter is going to maintain its shape, maintain its distance kind of thing. Yeah, so that's part of my shape key now. So that's going to come up like that. Yeah, I'll do a couple more just to make it clear. Grab these two, press V, right click, set the 3D cursor here. To go into the side view and just rotate that up a little bit. Yeah, I'll do one more, maybe here. V, put my 3D cursor there, grab that edge and just rotate that one up, maybe something like that. So I've got my splinters there, which are going to fold up, and you could go in and edit them more, I could make them narrower by scaling them on the individual origins Y, normal, something like that. Where's the other one gone? There. Yeah. I'm going to keyframe my shape key down here. Let's just put that on 2 maybe, and then at the end I'm going to keyframe my shape key at 1. So I've done this with a shape key. Shape keys are not ideal because the Blender doesn't really care, or any software doesn't really care about what happens between 0 and 1. The interpolation can be a bit weird. Sometimes the mesh can like shrink and then curve around to match the new shape. So it's not ideal, but for something like that, something like this, it does the job. Yeah. So I've got this splinter happening. If I bring back my other plank, so now we can see it's fine at the beginning, and then as it breaks apart, these splinters are going to pop up and you get that kind of effect going on. Yeah. If you don't like the shape key method, the other way to do it would be to go and rig all of these, add extra little bones in every single one of your splinters. As you can see, the shape key method was pretty fast. I did that quite quickly. So there's one more thing we can do to just make this a little bit more detailed. You could do this manually, or we could do it with a displace modifier, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to add a new texture, which you can use clouds or noise, whatever will do. And I'm going to use that vertex group, which we created earlier. Yeah, so it's only affecting those. Bring the strength of the displacement down a little bit. And also I'm going to reduce the scale of my clouds texture quite a lot, maybe like 0.02, something like that. And then we need to set this to the X direction, yeah, which is what it is for me. It's the X of the object, yeah. Okay, so it's always going to be facing that way. And then just to get a bit more displacement there, we add a subdivision surface modifier set to simple. Put that up above displace. Okay, let's bring that down a bit more. And so now the more levels I add to my subdivision, the more splinters we're going to get in the wood. So it gets a little bit crazy there. Maybe something like that would do. And then we can just adjust the strength a little bit until we get something reasonable. Something like that. And that doesn't look too bad at all. So as it breaks, as it's up here, oh. So there we go. Starts off nice and solid, and then breaks, and you get lots of nice little splinters. So I think that looks pretty good as a smashed piece of wood. The splinters don't look great. I did those very quickly. I guess you could take some more time to make them look a little bit better. Maybe even make these edges splintered as well. You know, splinter the splinters. I don't even know if splinter is the right word. But yeah, that's it for wood. Now let's get into it and dent some metal. So metal is super easy to do, denting metal anyway. I've got this model from Mixamo and the animation, just cleaned it up a little bit. And so we've got him punching a nice dent into metal. So it's really, really pretty simple. So I'm just going to add a plane, which is going to be my sheet of metal. And I'm going to, just for the purposes of this, I'm going to use a hammer. This is going to be my hammer. I'll apply those transforms. I'm going to bring up my timeline. I'm just going to keyframe this a little bit. Keyframe it up in the air. And let's go to like frame 10. And keyframe it going kind of into the metal a little bit. This is quite important. Okay, keyframe that there. And then I'm just going to So you could leave it there, but also I just want you to be able to see the dent. So I'm going to duplicate my original keyframe and put that at the end there. So the hammer goes in and then comes back again and bounces quite quite nicely. But anyway, right. So this is really easy. The only more involved part about this is that you might want to adjust some settings if you need to. I'm going to call this hammer. Right. So all we're going to do is we're going to use a cloth simulation. That's it. Yeah. So first I'm going to cut my plane to pieces, add a whole load of vertices, subdivide it basically, and add a cloth simulation. And I need to make sure that gravity is down on the field weights. This is the same even if your plane is vertical, you still need to make sure gravity is down, otherwise, you know, it's a cloth simulation, it's going to fall down. All right, and I turn this into a collision object. So now that's going to happen, yeah? That's how we're going to start to make our dent. For the cloth, I recommend you set it to leather, and we don't want the whole thing to ripple as it does, like that. Yeah, we want just this part to have a dent and not be raised up, because that's not really how metal would react. So that's easy. I'm going to hide my hammer for a moment and create a new vertex group for this metal sheet called pinned, and then pop into where are we going? Pop into weight paint. Okay, and what I want is basically just the center to be blue, gradually becoming red as we go out to the outside. So I'm just going to make a big square like this, coming in pretty close to where the hammer is making contact, something like that. And I can always just smooth that out to make it look a little bit better. Go back to my cloth simulation settings, come down to shape and select the pinned pin group. So now, where's my hammer? If I play that, yeah, it's only going to dent that part. Yeah, and so we're getting that dent. If you want to make the shape tighter, you just do more kind of 0.5 weight in the weight paint. So get a bit more green in here. Put this at 0.5. Shrink that down. Bring it around. Maybe draw more tightly around the hammer to make sure we get a nice circle. Yeah, so just run that sim again. Yeah, and so now we've got a fairly decent circular indentation. And so the more you want that, the tighter you would make your weight painting there. That's it basically. That's how we do it. But you know, you don't want to be running simulations all the time. So this is the easy part. You find the frame that you like, where the dent looks how you want it to look. Maybe that one. Yeah, and come to your cloth simulation modifier, and on this little arrow, click apply as shape key, and it's going to disappear. So now the cloth simulation is gone, but I have a shape key here called cloth, like that. So now I can keyframe that there. Go back. Let's go back to like 2 frames and keyframe that on 0, or maybe bring that one back just a little bit like that. So then we've got bang. We've got a dent being made in the metal. That's it. Really easy. Yeah. A couple of things we could do. You know, you might want to, depending on how your cloth is being viewed, your metal, you could always, you know, you might want to add a solidify modifier to that, and that works fine. Adding it afterwards. Yeah. So now we've got a big chunk being chopped out of the metal. Another thing, maybe you want some sort of more stretching, some more stretch marks in the shape, in the metal dent. So click on your cloth simulation, make sure it's set at 1. Sorry, click on your cloth shape key, make sure it's set at 1. Come up here and just go to sculpt mode, and we could do a little bit of bump. I think this one's called bump. No, sorry, inflate. Yeah, just draw in some kind of stretch marks, whatever it's called, I don't know, with just control, smooth it out around the edges. So now that's part of your dent. You can, you know, do that a little bit better. That's it. Super easy to do that. Let me add another one here. That would work with the monkey head or whatever shape you're going to put into it. So let's do it with a quick monkey head. I'm going to just subdivide the monkey head a bit. Make that into a collision object. Subdivide the hell out of this. Whoops. Yeah, and we do the same thing. Find the place we like. And we got a monkey head dent. And that's it. You know, if you want that more crisp, you just add more, you subdivide it more and more and more. Yeah, whoops. Yeah, and then I would just apply that shape key. Apply it as shape key, even. There we go. And I've got that shape key. So we've got that dent being made. And if you want it, you know, that doesn't look very realistic because I didn't adjust the collision distance of my monkey head. The thickness outer and thickness inner need to be brought right down, and then it will make closer contact, but I want to do this more quickly. Okay, so that is how we make a quick dent in metal. If you wanted to have something break through the metal, I don't know what would be able to break, but let's say you got the Hulk or something trying to break out of a prison, we can do that too. So we're going to add another plane, do the same thing that we did earlier. Subdivide it, subdivide. Okay, quite a lot. Let's have, I don't know, let's have a cone going through. Yeah, so I'll bring it up. And this is going to go right through. Yeah, so let's do it that way. And go to 20, bring it down here. Keyframe, location, rotation, and scale. Again, set this one to be cloth and 0 gravity. Set this one to be collision. Okay, so now I need to, where's my cone? I need to make some cuts into this for this to actually work. So I'm going to keep my cone there because then I can see what I'm doing. Select the metal plane, tab into edit mode. From whatever view you need, press K, get your knife tool, and just make some cuts which are going to represent where your cloth is going to rip. So just draw across and press enter, and then K again, draw across and press enter. And I'm going to do one more like this, draw across and press enter. So now those should all still be selected. If you press V, it should rip, but it won't because we've got little triangles here like this. So just deselect that one, deselect that one. Anywhere where you can see a face is selected, you just deselect it, and then we press V, and that should rip. So now we've got this rip in our material, and as the thing comes down, it's going to rip on through like that. Yeah, and then again, is it going to manage the whole thing? Yeah, not too bad. There's a little piece there which came flying off completely, which maybe is not so realistic, but it doesn't matter too much. Okay, and again, get to a frame that you like, something like that, and we're going to apply it as shape key. Right, so set that to 1, press I, go back to where it doesn't make contact, maybe back one more frame, bring that down to there, and press I, bring that down to 0. So now we've got that breaking through. I don't know if metal would necessarily shred like that. I think that looks pretty good, and if we could add a solidify modifier to that one, make it a little bit thicker, so then you've got a fairly decent, I think it kind of looks like torn metal. I don't know, I've never broken through metal myself, but there is the problem that the gap is visible here, which is fine. We just use the weld modifier like earlier and set that above the solidify. So then it's a solid piece of metal and then it rips. I don't know if metal rips like that. I guess it does. Yeah. Okay, so there we go. That's, you know, hammering a piece of metal, or like Suzanning a piece of metal. You know, or that could be a fist, or whatever you got. You know, it could be the shape of a human if you're doing like a cartoony kind of thing. Somebody getting slammed into a metal wall. or we've got something, completely breaking through and shredding the metal. And what's nice about this is actually the metal warps slightly at the edge, where as it would, because metal only can stretch so far, and then it's going to start to bring those edges in, which I think that looks pretty good, like that. Yeah. So there we go. That's it. That's breaking stuff. We've broken glass. We've broken wood. We've dented and torn through metal. And then, you could take it a step further and, I've got this cube here just to represent another car. And as it comes, it hits into the car. And, that's got a shape key on there, which is called cloth, but it's actually the dent. And so that slams into the car and it slides over there because I've got a rigid body on there as well. One thing I will say about rigid bodies, right? Where's it gone? The weight of this car, I had to whack it up to something ridiculous. I don't even know. I think that's the most we can get. That's kilograms over there, like something billion, some billion. Because even still, the car slides a lot. Considering it's not getting hit that fast. And so to do that, we have to create the cloth simulation shape key on the car. So you don't do the rigid body, just have your cloth simulation going on so you can create the shape key for denting the car, save that as a shape key, and then you create your animation using the rigid body settings. Set this as an active as well. Maybe if I increase the mass of this one, let's create this. No, let's decrease the mass. It's like 100 kg. And see what happens. Yeah, it's still sending it flying, isn't it? But yeah, so then you can do all that. And then also for this one, let's shatter these windows with another technique. Are these solidified? Yeah. I'm going to separate these ones, and I'm going to just do a very quick one, which is quick explode. Like that. And we want it to go to the particle settings. We want it to kick in on frame 15, so frame start 15 and end 15. And has that got a subdivision on it as well? Yeah, it's got subdivision. Let's turn that off. So now it's also going to smash those pieces out as the car makes contact. Those pieces look really, really terrible. But yeah, so that's another thing you could do, is just to increase the realism there. We can turn this into a collision, turn the ground into a collision piece so that the particles will hit the ground and hopefully not go through. Yeah, super bouncy glass. I'm sure you've all seen that before. Let's stop that. How did that happen? Collision, permeability 0, stickiness. Let's see, increase the stickiness to 10. Right, let's see how that goes. Yeah, that's a bit better. It's still sliding, but okay. And then we can adjust the explosiveness of our glass. Set the normal. The normal is the way it's facing out, which is fine for where we are at the moment. Let's set that to 5 meters per second. See what happens. Yeah, actually, they probably wouldn't fly out that much, would they? I guess they'd stay where they are. I don't know. I haven't slammed into any cars recently. Yeah, probably something like that. That's how you can combine, you've got the metal shape key and the sort of glass exploding and, rigid bodies going on and everything to get quite a nice car crash, which, is always such a lovely thing to do. So yeah, if you found any of that useful, please drop a like. I know it's a long video, so sorry about that, but we've got everything in there. Well, we've got the main parts in there. We've got glass, wood, metal. And yeah, if you didn't find it useful, please let me know why, and I'll try to do better next time. Thanks very much.